Hey everybody, it's your girl Nell, and welcome to another episode of Simply Nell's Tiny Studio. I would like for you to welcome my guest, the Tiny Studio assistant. She's here today for this video, and I would like to thank her so much for taking time out of her day to come into the Tiny Studio to help her mom do some things for you guys today. Happy Wednesday. What are we doing in the Tiny Studio today? And can you believe it? I'm actually in the Tiny Studio with glam on and, not my house dress. I'm feeling better. And when you're going through something, you feel like, oh my God, it's never going to end. That's really, the pain or what have you, the negativity in your mind talking to you. And I'm just so glad I listened to my mom when she said, remember, some things are just temporary. And what you're going through is temporary. You'll be back to your normal self very soon. And of course, my mother was correct. So I'm getting there. I'm moving a little bit faster than I was before. I'm still using my cane. I'm still having some issues with mobility. However, I am still moving about and doing my thing. And that's what I hope for you guys. Whatever challenges you may be facing, listen, it's only temporary. Face those challenges with a smile, face them head on, and just keep on moving. Keep on living, right? Right. Okay, then. So, what we're going to do today in this video, I believe this is vlog number 19 of Nellsgiving. I started collecting Pyrex about a month and a half ago. And the reason is because I set up a baking station in my kitchen for my daughter and I, the Tiny Studio system, because we both love to bake. And I thought it would be really nice to just have a section just for our baking, our baking supplies, cookbooks, measuring cups, baking pans and dishes, and things of that sort. Our mixer and everything. We have all those things in a special baking center. So that whole area is baking. The shelves are full of our baking supplies, drawers with our baking spatulas and measuring spoons and all of those things. And I just thought it was just, I just felt it was a really good idea to really do that because, it's going to not only encourage me with my baking and, upping my game baking wise, but also the Tiny Studio system because she's a budding baker or pastry chef and she really does her thing. So I thought that, putting together a baking station for her will really encourage her and inspire her to do more, to excel at what she likes to do, or what she loves to do. So anyhow, while I was, getting ready to, while I was implementing or planning my baking station, I really got into the tools of the trade, the tools of the trade of a baker, of a really good baker. What are some things that a really good baker should have in her kitchen or his kitchen? Of course, you want to have a nice scale. So we have a nice scale. We have measuring cups and spoons. We have so many of them. It's ridiculous because every time I go to the store, I'd be like, oh, I need another set of measuring cups and spoons. So we have plenty of those. You need a good mixer, right? You need a really good mixer. Right now, my husband gifted me a Farberware stand mixer for one of our anniversaries of the past. And it was because at the time the KitchenMaid was really, unattainable. And so he bought the Farberware instead. And I've been using that for, years now. However, I'm really beginning to understand that I need to have a professional KitchenAid mixer in the kitchen. As a matter of fact, one of my what was it called, Connie? The whipping utensil that goes to the Farberware. Yeah, that completely fell apart, and I was doing some research to try to replace it, but you can't replace it. Farberware doesn't make the the replacement utensil for is stand mixer, which I do not understand. And I do not plan on spending money on buying something off of Amazon that says, oh, it may be able to fit this particular stand mixer. So what I'm really getting ready to do is invest in a KitchenAid, a professional stand mixer. But when you're talking about mixing, you also get into the fact that you want to have bowls that are really good and are made for, mixing different ingredients such as your cake batters, dough, brownie batter, any type of batter that you can think of. You want a really good mixing bowl. And so I started going down this rabbit hole of really, discovering mixing bowls. And then, as usual, as I start doing the research, I go into my vintage nail self. And then I started saying, well, let me find out what was really good, you know, uh, in the past. And are these items still available to me today? And yes, they are. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole of Pyrex. Now, in the past, I've had Pyrex bowls, but Pyrex wasn't, Pyrex was just something that, people had, or that women like my mom and my grandmother had in their kitchens. And it was really no big deal. It was just something that they had and that they used often. But now Pyrex is really such a big deal. You could usually pick up a Pyrex bowl or so from, your local thrift store, your Goodwill, Salvation Army, and it was for little or nothing, and you still can. You still can. However, nowadays, I believe Pyrex had over 167 different patterns and designs, and before they discontinued their pattern and colorful Pyrex mixing bowls and baking dishes and refrigerator bowls and things of that nature. And Pyrex, if you're really looking for vintage Pyrex, sometimes the Pyrex that you may want may be in a well sought after design, and that could cost you thousands of dollars. And when I talk about vintage Pyrex, I'm going back to like the 40s all the way up into the like 1973 or your mid 70s. And so these are some really old pieces, but they're really still good operational pieces that will enhance anyone's kitchen. Now, Tiny Studio Assistant, can you hand me the Hamilton Beach bowls, the white milk glass? Now, all Pyrex bowls of the past 100 and so years were made of milk glass. And when you start getting into I think I talked to you a little bit about depression glass, some of my depression glass pieces that I've been collecting. And in another video, we will discuss that. I believe it's going to be vlog 20, where we'll talk more about depression glass and some of what I've been collecting. But anyhow, with the milk glass was just a really big thing during the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And so the Pyrex company, after they patent their process for making milk glass, or for making glassware in a way that you can put it in the oven, and then you can also put it in a refrigerator and it won't shatter on you. When they finished patenting that, and they started really getting into making milk glass ovenware, then they really started branching out into other things such as mixing bowls and things of that nature. But years ago, when I was living in Detroit as a young wife and a young mother, I came across a Hamilton Beach Pyrex mixing bowl. And I picked it up for probably 60 cents or something like that. And I had it for years and years and years and years in my collection. And, I mixed cake batter with it, whatever I was doing, I used that bowl all the time. But an unfortunate accident occurred, and that was it for that bowl. However, while I was going down the rabbit hole of Pyrex, vintage Pyrex, I found it again. And then that finding this particular bowl again and actually getting into the history of Pyrex was really, really something enjoyable and rewarding for me and the Tiny Studio assistant. So I would like to show you the bowl that I am talking about. I am talking about this Pyrex mixing bowl. How do you know it's Pyrex? Well, on the back, it's going to give you all the information that you need. So it says Pyrex. I know you probably cannot see it here. Let me see if I can move the light down a little bit. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So on the back of the bowl, it says Pyrex with a capital P. And then it says Hamilton Beach, Racine, Wisconsin, number 15, made in the USA. So this particular bowl was made for the Hamilton Beach mixer, stand mixer. This was the bowl that went to it. And it came in another size, a smaller size. And this is the smaller size. And on the back of it, it says Pyrex, Hamilton Beach, Racine, Wisconsin, number 18, made in the USA. You probably won't be able to see that because of the lights. However, when I was shopping, vintage shopping, and I discovered that there was a lot of sellers posting that they had the bowl that I really was excited to obtain again. I had to just go ahead and purchase it. And so this is the bowl. It went to the 1940 and the 1950s Hamilton Beach stand mixer. That's what these two bowls went to. And so I was so excited to get this bowl again, to have this bowl back in my collection, but I had no idea that it was a vintage Pyrex bowl, and I had had it in my collection for such a long time. So to be able to acquire it again, oh my God, I was just so excited. Wasn't I excited? Tiny Studio sister, she was excited too. So have you been able to use these bowls, Tiny Studio assistant? You have? Oh, okay. So I'm going to show you this other bowl that I purchased as well. But this was the beginning of my Pyrex. This is the beginning of my Pyrex collection. And it's just so wonderful that I was able to acquire this bowl again. This bowl is probably, I want to say 80 years old. Almost 80, or if not 80 already, but next to 80. And so I am just so excited. Now there is an older bowl of this particular stand mixer, Hamilton Beach bowl. It's an older version that I'm looking at right now that I'm planning on acquiring maybe next month or so. But I am so happy to have these in my collection. And as you heard, the Tiny Studio assistant said that she is enjoying using both of these mixers, both of these bowls. So I'm so excited to be able to have this in my baking section of the kitchen. But I am also really excited to have these next two bowls as a part of my baking station as well. And they are Vintage Pyrex Cinderella bowls. And they are part of the Daisy collection. And I've looked up some information for you. Excuse me, so that I can be able to share that with you. Okay. Tiny Studio assistant, can you hand me that? Okay. Thank you. Okay. So these are Vintage Pyrex Cinderella bowls. This is the first one, and this is the second one. They come in a set of 4. So the other two I have not found yet, but I am on the hunt for them. So the other two come in the solid yellow color. This is the daisy pattern. I was so fortunate to find this in excellent condition. Of course, there has been some wear. I don't mind that. How do I know it's vintage Pyrex? Well, because on the back, you can't really see it, but on the back it tells you that the number Pyrex of this is a 444. It's a 4-quart it's a 4-quart mixing bowl. Trademark Pyrex number 30, made in the USA, ovenware. So remember, not only are you able to mix things up into this bowl, like, like I said, cake batter, fudge brownie batter, dough, but you can also bake in this bowl as well. And that's what was so wonderful about Pyrex. And also Fire King. These bowls were wonderful because you can not only mix things, but you can put them in the oven, and then you can bring them to the table. And if you have leftovers, you can also store it in the refrigerator, all in this one bowl. That's what made Pyrex a beloved brand for a lot of housewives. So it's called a Cinderella bowl because it has 2 spouts. It has a pouring spout. You can pour your batter out in. And then it has a handle. You can use the handle as a spout as well as a pouring. You can pour from here. But basically the idea is for you to hold it and then pour. And that is, let me show you this other one. The Hamilton Beach, and I believe this is what, a 2.5 quart. See how you pour it like that, so your hands are inside the bowl as you are pouring, right? So with the Cinderella bowls, what makes them revolutionary is 2 handles, or you have a spout, a pouring spout, and you have the handle. And then you just pour your batter. See? Pour your batter. Now your fingers are not inside the bowl where the batter is. So, and here's the second. Okay. Put my hair back. And this is the 1.5 quart. And this number is 442, Pyrex, made in the USA, ovenware. So this is the second bowl that goes with this. I'm trying to build the set, and I felt it was in decent condition. Yes, it's been some wear, probably because it's been placed in the dishwasher, which you don't want to do. And other than that, see that beautiful daisy pattern? Isn't that beautiful? I just loved it so much, and it goes in line with my fall winter theme of colors, with oranges and yellows and golds, all of those deep fall wintry colors. And so that's why I was so excited to acquire the daisy pattern bowl. Thank you, Tiny Studio Assistant. So I'm so excited, and these 4 Pyrex items are my beginning, me getting my feet wet in the world of Pyrex. Let me give you some more information. Okay, Tiny Studio Assistant, you can put these away. Thank you so much for helping. Let me give you some information about the daisy pattern of Pyrex. So the daisy pattern of Pyrex focus on the changing market trends toward bright and cheerful colors. That was made or manufactured between 1968 and 1973. So those 2 items are probably 50 plus years of age. There was a set of juicers that was released to accompany the daisy pattern design, but the design It's actually a bright orange and lemon slices, and it doesn't necessarily match the daisy pattern. Okay, the daisy is one of the patterns used on the clear lids of the dishes, and not just the dishes themselves, some of which have no pattern at all. Okay, so as I said, this daisy pattern was released in 1968, but the daisy pattern only appears on the 442 and the 444 Cinderella mixing bowls, while the remaining bowls and casseroles were solid shades of yellow and orange. Daisy instead appears on the clear glass lids of the dishes until 1972, when the clear lids were replaced with opal lids, still with the daisy print design on top. Okay, so and then inside the vintage history, it gives me a listing of the various products that was released under the Daisy brand, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And they have, not only with this history, Pyrex history, they also have the old advertisements that went with it. And so I am just really excited. I went on a site called the Corning Museum of Glass Pyrex Potluck, and they have a pattern library, a research room, and a recipe box and everything. So, oh, and let me just say who the designer is. The designer is Cynthia Girow, spelled Gerow. And she was the designer of the Pyrex pattern Daisy. So I'm so excited to have those 4 Pyrex, vintage Pyrex bowls in my possession again. Well, the Hamilton Beach one, which is almost 80 years old, it's really exciting to have her again in my collection, to have the little quart to go with it, and then to really start getting into buying the vintage Pyrex in design patterns too, to really, get excited about that. And I'm just really happy that the Tiny Studio Assistant is, that she's using these products that in the kitchen, in the kitchen baking station. I'm really happy that she's using them, because that's what vintage items, that's what they were meant for. That's what they were made for. They were made to last generations. And so just thinking that the Hamilton Beach stand mixing bowl is almost 80 years old, and she's using it in 2024. Just think about that. A product that was made in the 40s and the 50s. My daughter, who was born in 2005, is using it. You were born in 2005, right? Oh, my daughter, who was born in 2004, is using these products. Just, it's the same with the Pyrex Daisy pattern. To be able to find something that is in excellent condition that I'm able to use now, 55 plus years later, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing. That's a gift. And that shows you that, vintage was made to last. It wasn't made to, you use it for a couple of years and then it breaks on you on purpose, and then you had to go back out and buy another one. It wasn't, those items were not meant for that. They were meant to last generations, lifetimes, and that's what is happening. And that's why I really enjoy buying vintage items. It's because the person who first bought that piece, whatever it may be, they used it, they loved on it. And of course, as human beings, we pass on, we make that transition. But, our material things still, if they're good and made of quality, they still last. So the next generation can be able to pick it up and be able to use it and have enjoyment from it. And, just all of the good things that come with using something that has a purpose, but it's also beautiful to the eyes, and then you just pass it on from one generation to the next generation. I know when I was younger, I never liked going shopping for vintage things. You know, my mother, my aunts, and my grandma, they loved vintage shopping. I would come along, but I would be like, these things are old. You know, why are we buying old things? Why don't we just go to the mall and get something new? What's up with that? You know? But as I became older, as I became a young adult and I got my first apartment, everything in my apartment was, you know, vintage. It belonged to someone else. They had it for years and they passed it down to me in excellent condition. And I had a whole house full of furniture because my grandmother, my mom, and my aunts gave me their items, which were vintage items. And I was probably the only one out of all of my friends who had their own apartment that was fully furnished and functioning and looked good. All right, looked really, really good. And that's because I learned that, you know, new isn't always what's in. Vintage is always in. You just have to know how to use it and how to decorate with it. And if it's functional, why not? Why not, you know, give it a new life? That's the whole idea of loving vintage things, being able to appreciate the past and to step into the future, right? Right. All right, then I'm going to hop off the line with you guys, and I'll see you next time here in the Tiny Studio. Thank you so much for watching. And this is your girl Nell and my Tiny Studio sitting over there. Thank you. And we will see you next time here in the Tiny Studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye-bye.